Now, if I was to say I'm going to make a feature film and shoot the whole thing in 2 days, you'd say I was completely nutbar. And I can't think of anybody I know who would disagree with you. But I'm going to make a feature film and I'm going to shoot it in 2 days. And I think I've figured out how I can manage it. Stick around and find out. Rightio, so shooting a feature film in 2 days, 48 hours. That's sort of what I want to do. And not just shoot it, I want to have it edited and ready to upload at the end of that 48 hours. Am I completely nutbar? Quite likely. But I've been doing some math and I think I can give it a real go. Here's what I've worked out so far. You see, if you take 48 hours and you're going to be nice to your cast and crew and say, you can have some sleep, then you've got 36 hours over that 48 to actually shoot in. So if you divide 90 minutes, your sort of average length for a feature film, by 36 hours, that means you've only got to shoot 2.4 minutes of film per hour. Now, if you look at it like that, suddenly it seems a little bit more achievable. Still hard work, but more achievable. There's a few things you're going to have to do to make something like this work, of course, and that is making sure that you're doing things in a way with a project and a script and the people involved and everything that aren't going to put lots of roadblockers and slowdowns in it. Normally a feature film of 90 minutes, you'd have 50 days to shoot in, and you're only looking at getting 1 or 2 minutes of final footage a day. But those people are doing things like building sets, assembling huge camera and lighting rigs, going into a soundstage with hundreds of people, having heaps of ADs and grips and gaffers and riggers and electricians and camera operators, supervisors, makeup, all that sort of thing. Those all consume a lot of time. We don't want to throw all of that away, of course, but we want to have a look at all of these processes involved in making a film and see how we can crush them down into something that lets us shoot 2.4 minutes an hour. Going to be tricky? Yeah. Impossible? I don't think so. So we need to break all of this down into a number of areas. One of them is, of course, the script and story. That's paramount to the whole thing. You've got to have the right script. You've got to have the right story. There's no point in trying to do something like Star Wars in 2 days because it just ain't going to happen. Pick a script that we actually can shoot. The next one, of course, is the technology involved. Looking at different options, what can we use that's not going to slow us down? Even better, things that we can use to help speed up the workflow that we're using. And that's the next bit, of course, is the workflow and looking at how we move things around from the camera and the microphone to the edit suite, what we're using for editing, all of that sort of thing. How can we, say, edit on the fly? So rather than taking something back to an editorial suite and an editorial department or something like that, maybe that can come with us so that we can watch it as we're going. While the setup's happening, I can have a look at what was edited in last time. And also we need to have a look at the workflow in terms of sequentiality. Are we going to shoot the whole film in order? Do we pick a script that lets us do that one, coming back up to the top? These are the sorts of things I'm going to have to start thinking about. And finally, down the bottom, there's all of the logistics that go around the film. There's when are we going to feed people, how much time do we need for costume changes and makeup, transport between locations, what locations are we going to use? Are we going to try and minimize the number of locations, or at least make sure that we can shoot in a whole pile of different locations just by turning the camera around and having a different background? There's a whole pile of cheats and things that we can do. these are the four main areas that we're going to need to look at to be able to figure out whether we can actually shoot a feature film of 90 minutes in 48 hours. So let's start with the first thing on the list, which is the script and story. And keep in mind that anything in here is just my off the top of the head ideas, nothing that I'm going to be sticking with most likely. Maybe, I don't know, we'll find out. The story and script, it needs to be kept simple and I think linear, but needs to have a good character and twist in it. It needs to be a character-driven story. You don't want too many cast, you don't want too much crew to be looking after that cast and all the things that a large cast comes with, which would include more wardrobe, more vehicles, more food and all that kind of thing. All of that kind of stuff would slow the film down. So a small cast, a good linear character-driven script and story that has a couple of nice twists and reveals in it, I think would be the way to go. That's a kind of script I'm going to be looking for. Hey, if you've got one of those, hit me up in the comments and private message me or something and let me know, because I'm going to be looking for one. Now you want to look at the technology you're going to want to use to make a 90-minute film in 48 hours. You're going to have to be very selective about it. We could use something like this 4K cinema camera I've got here with great lenses and shoots massive amounts of data and everything and gets an absolutely beautiful quality output. Or you could use something like this camera I'm using right here, the AX53 from Sony. Once again, it's a pretty good image and you can do a lot with that, of course. Or you could use your cell phone if you wanted to, or somewhere around here I've got a GoPro as well. Picking and choosing stuff like the camera you're using and the sound equipment you're using, the types of lighting that you're using. Like right now I'm just using a small video on camera light that I've put up on the side here, and a torch which is giving me good light for this thing. And these things can give you a perfectly good result, and obviously you don't need stands and rigging for them. You can just handhold them most of the time if you really want to. These are the sorts of technology things that you need to think about when you're feeding into a workflow, because it's the workflow which is where you're going to be saving all your time. And that's where I'm actually tempted to go with the cell phone, to be completely honest. This is an iPhone 11 Pro Max, and it's a fantastic phone. It's got brilliant cameras on it, and if you're using software like Filmic Pro and Filmic Pro Remote, you can shoot on your cell phone, upload that directly with AirDrop to an iPad or a MacBook for editing on, so you can have your editor walking around with you like we were saying before. Somebody can have another phone with Filmic Remote on it and do focus pulling or monitoring or all sorts of other things that help you speed up the workflow but still give you some of these professional abilities, especially when you're talking about the focus pull or zooming remotely and stuff like that. That's giving some pretty good stuff that we can get into straight there, you know, some real time savers. And it's these little time savers, and the more of these we find, that make shooting this 90-minute film in 48 hours more and more possible. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm feeling more and more confident the more I think about this that it can be done. And that brings us down to the logistics of the film. Now that's things like transporting people, costumes, food, making sure everybody gets to the set, making sure everyone's scheduled, all of these sorts of things, making sure you're not waiting on people all the time. Another big time soak is somebody doesn't turn up till half an hour late or that sort of thing. And you get that quite often on a film set. These are things that can be whittled down. So if you take that right back up to the top here again and you look at your script and story, that drives the technology you need to capture that script and story, which drives the workflow that you can use to implement the technology in an efficient way, and all of that drives down to the logistics of the film and getting everything into the right places it needs to be in the right time. All really tips off from the script at the beginning of all of this. So that's the thing I'm going to need to have a really good think about. So if you've got an idea or a script, you're a writer, or just you've got some ideas and bullet point for a story that you think might be suitable for this, send it in to me or put it into the comments below. I'd love to see anything. The more we get coming in, the more choices we've got to work with, and hey, we might mash a couple of things together. Don't forget, of course, to click on the subscribe button over here and watch a couple of these videos up here, because YouTube like it when you do that kind of thing. And I will see you in the next video. See you later.